My name's Jake. I built a portfolio of 15 properties by 27, but I started on $7 an hour and I bought my first property while on $12 an hour. This episode, I will go into how I went from 0 to 3 properties from 19 to 23 years old.
Jake, 15 properties at 27 years old, right? That's pretty crazy. A lot of people claim a lot of stuff. I've seen a lot of weird shit on the internet, right? Have you seen that too?
100%, yeah.
So, but what people don't tend to do is they don't often show people, they're not transparent on how they went from 0 to 5 or 0 to 10 or 0 to 15 in your case. And what we're doing in this, breaking down how you actually did it and what the story was and what the problems you faced were, because that's more helpful for people to hear than just being told, I have 15 properties. Like, how's that helpful to me? You're just making me feel like I'm a poor piece of shit, right? But that's not our goal, right? Like you're one of the best guys out there, and this is a really jam-packed video of value because it's not often people take the time out to share. This is how I got from A to B, yeah?
Yeah, 100%.
So take us back, like on your journey to your very first property. Where'd you live? How'd you even get into, what made you get into property? You know, what's the deal? What's the deal?
It all started with my dad. He was a tradie. He owned a couple of investment properties in the area that we lived in. I grew up in Ashmore, Gold Coast. He used to take me along with him from a real young age, around 10 or 11 years old. He'd take me to the properties. He would do his maintenance on his own properties, which is pretty rare in this day and age in the property investment game. But from a young age, I couldn't understand why he owned multiple properties. And that's when he started to explain to me the ins and outs of property investing, why you do it, how it gets you ahead.
How old were you?
10 or 11 at the time. So I was pretty young.
Were you forced on the tools? Were you
Forced
helping him?
on the tools. I was handing him tools from a very young age, yes.
Oh, that's really cool. That's really cool. Were you guys rich back then? Were you
Nah, Dad had a plumbing business. Mum was a hairdresser. So both trade backgrounds, not the most money involved in those trades, but I suppose I got taught from a very young age that you had to work hard for your money. It didn't come easy. Dad, he was a very hard worker. Saved his money, invested pretty much every cent he could when he could, and that's kind of what instilled that hard work and grit and the value of $1, I suppose.
What really lit a fire up your ass to be able to go all in and kind of be ambitious?
How would you feel if you were going up to the end of high school? All your mates knew what they were doing. They had their lives mapped out. They had a plan in place. They were going to uni. They had all these big, bright ideas, and you were told by a few of them, you'll amount to nothing. See where I'm at in 5 years, we'll see where you're at in 5 years. And that's when the fire began, and it hasn't gone out since, basically. I didn't want to get left behind. I needed to figure out something fast. And I remember what my dad taught me back in the day, planting the seed of getting into property, just getting a property as quick as you could. So I sat down, I set the goal of, I just want to buy a property as quick as I possibly can. I became a plumber, as a plumbing apprentice, following in my dad's footsteps. And that's where it all started.
A lot of people have been told that. I think a lot of people resonate with being told, you're not going to be able to do what you're thinking of doing.
100%. And yeah, I think that creates savages from a young age.
Yeah, so you got obsessed.
Obsessed, yeah. There wasn't too much strategy behind it. I was very young. I was 16, 17. All I knew is I needed to get a property under my belt. The means in doing so was becoming a plumbing apprentice because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was a bit lost at that stage. So I just committed to the plumbing apprenticeship, saved up every dollar I could. I started on $7 an hour, digging holes. It was hard manual labor. So on the shovel most days, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, for years on end. I eventually saved up $60K at 19 years old for my first house deposit.
Good on you, mate. That's awesome. And what, $6 an hour, $7 an hour?
$7 an hour.
Oh, fire. That's how much this bloody coffee costs these days.
Yeah, right? I know. It's crazy.
That's crazy.
I started on $7 an hour. About when I was 18, 19, I got a big pay rise to $12 an hour. Oh, so I was on the big bucks then, mate.
Some of my mates used to rip off people leaving school in year 10. Oh, you're a tradie, you can't, because you're too dumb to stay in school.
Yeah.
Mate, look at plumbers and tradies and all that now. They're absolutely raking it in.
Yeah, it's a different landscape now. They're getting paid the big bucks.
Yeah, not $7 an hour.
Yeah.
But that's kudos to you, but you're 16, someone lit a fire up your ass, all your friends doubted you and you're putting every single cent into it. That's a lot of money on what compared to like you must have put literally nearly everything into that.
Oh, it was, I was down to the last cent basically.
With being a young person, you're saving every single thing. Were you looking at your bank account a lot? Were you like, oh, I need to get here? Or were you just trying to, did you know what amount you needed?
I did roughly. I knew I needed around that 50, 60K to get into the market at that time. I didn't look at my bank account too much because it was a slow process saving up that money. I didn't want to really look at it. I eventually did get to that 60K mark. I remember being a teenager and going into the bank and asking for a home loan. I walked into the bank straight after work, covered in dirt, holes literally in my shirt, covered in paint, booked a meeting with the main loans officer in the bank of Westpac at the time. I went in there, got the interview with her, and I was just basically asking her questions for hours and hours on end about how do I get into property? What do I do from here? I got my 60K. Can I get a home loan?
Were you punished?
I would have been a punish, I suppose, now looking back at it. She was a bit hesitant at the start, and I think my enthusiasm got the loan over the line, to be honest, on the first one. She ended up writing me a pre-approval.
Oh, wow.
So the pre-approval was around 400K at that time. And I was looking, you could buy properties on the Gold Coast back then for around 400K. I know it sounds unbelievable, but
yeah.
The first property I purchased was in a suburb, the neighbouring suburb to where I lived. The strategy behind that one, there was a tram line going in at the time. But it was a big rave on the Gold Coast. Everyone was talking about this tram line going in. And I knew that this tram line was going in near the property I was looking at within this suburb. This suburb had the main university and the main hospital in the area. And the thinking behind it was, if this tram line goes in, well, surely it would bring more hospital workers in, uni students, maybe people want to buy property to turn them into boarding houses for the uni students, because it was just a little bit too much of a walk to the hospital and the uni. So that was the thinking behind buying the first one. And there's a really funny story about buying the first one, actually. I rocked up to the open home on the first property. The market in the Gold Coast at the time, it wasn't too hot, so it was a little bit stale. There was only one other person at the open home, similar age to me, probably a little bit older. It was just me and him in the property with the agent, scoping it out. As I was walking through the property, going through it all, he was in the kitchen with the agent negotiating on the property.
Yeah.
And like, they weren't being discreet about it. They were talking pretty loud, and I could hear every word they were saying, basically.
How old was this guy going for the property?
He would have been, he'd have to be 20, 21. I was
similar age.
yeah.
So
I was 19. Yeah. So he was on.
Yeah.
He was very, very keen on the property like I was. Anyway, I overheard him talking to the agent and being like, where do I need to be at to sort of get this thing done? She's like, I think 420K would buy the property. He's like, yeah, cool. Writes down his offer and all his terms on the paper in the kitchen, leaves. And basically I walk in 5 minutes later and I write down 421 and I get the property that afternoon.
Oh my God. So you got the property up for $1,000 extra?
$1,000 extra. And being a buyer's agent today, they're the best wins when you snag a property for about $500 or $1,000 more. It's a good little winning feeling, that's for sure.
Takes me back to being in the canteen at school.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, I'll give you this. Yeah, that's a classic story. 19 years old, holes in your shirt, dirty, going in to annoy some bank lady, really nice to you. Goes, just go away, here's your pre-approval. No, really nice.
Get out of here.
Yeah, get out. So then you got your first property. How old were you?
19 years old. Funny story, like I bought my first one at 19, didn't have much strategy behind what to do next. I never planned to buy multiple properties. It was always get into the market, get your first property, and that was it. There was nothing else after that. I didn't even know you could buy multiple properties, you know.
Yeah.
So 6 months went by of me holding on to this first property. I rented it out, got a lot of unexpected maintenance bills, and I wasn't expecting this. And I was still on a $12 an hour wicket at the time as an apprentice. And I was struggling to afford these unexpected maintenance bills come in. So I had to actually go in and start fixing doing the maintenance myself on the property after work in the afternoons. And after 6 months of this, I'm like, man, what's the point of doing this? Like, why buy a property and go through this headache? I just couldn't see the bigger picture. I didn't have the long-term vision.
You feel like you were jibbed a bit. Yeah,
because I got sold into the dream.
You're sold in the dream, and it's like, it's costing me my weekends. Was it positively done or not?
I'm pretty sure it was neutrally geared at the time. So it was just paying for itself, but the maintenance bills coming in, that was the killer. That was negative. That was making it negative. And yeah, I remember thinking like, I'm meant to be in this for making money. But why am I spending my afternoons and weekends fixing the place up and yeah, going backwards? And then after 6 months, the tram line actually got built, and it got built quicker than I expected. It went in, and the property value went up by 50, 60K in that 6 month period of owning it. I was still 19 at the time. I got the bank valuation 50 to 60K high, and I'm like, I felt like I hit the winning lottery ticket with that, because I'm 12. Like, how long would it take me to save up that amount
That was
of
your
money?
deposit.
Yeah, that was the deposit back in 6 months, and that was over a 3-year period of thousands of hours of work to save up that deposit, you know? So that was a bit of a light bulb moment for sure. And that's what sparked the obsession, learn everything I could about property. And I went on this education journey to just learn everything I could.
That was in the nick of time. That's just such a good principle you teach a lot of your clients. In the house, the equity saved you your deposit back in 6 months versus 3 years.
Yeah. 100%. It's lucky because I learned that on my first property, and I'm still doing that to this day for clients and myself as well. Buying in a high growth area, which I did on the first one, getting a little discount on the way in, and adding a little bit of value to the property. Those 3 simple steps, you can make a lot of money really quick.
So that was good because you're feeling a bit crap. You're like, I bought this thing, it's taken more than given to me. You get the bank eval, it's an extra 60K in 6 months. Now what?
That's when I went on my education journey. So I'm like, okay, I need to know more about property. If I just made 50 to 60K on this one property in 6 months, if I owned 5 or 10 of them at the same time, what's that going to look like? And I just started coming up with all these ideas, and I started listening to podcasts very, very heavily. Because back then there wasn't actually too much property information around. There was a podcast here and there that property investors would go on and speak about their stories. A couple YouTube videos here and there. But at the time, I had to commute to work an hour up to Brisbane, Ipswich, and an hour back every single day.
Nice.
And during that time, I just listened to podcasts. So 2 hours every day of podcasts for pretty much every day for years up until I bought my second property. I've learned a lot about property during that time. I remember hearing investor stories about guys owning 10 to 20 properties in their late 20s to early 30s. I'm like, wow, if I could do that and get off the tools, that would be absolutely amazing. And I just knuckled down and tried to learn everything I could.
I think it's the benefit of podcasts and hearing people's stories. It's not to compare, it's to show you what's possible.
100%.
If in between your first property and your second property, what did you have to learn in an education journey to be able to get ready for it?
The journey from going from the first property to the second property, what I did for the first property, it worked perfectly. So I'm like, well, I'm going to just do the same thing again. I saved up I was 21 when I bought the second property. So there's a 2-year gap in between the first and the second. I saved up half the amount of the deposit on the second one, and I actually ended up being able to use equity from the first one to put towards the deposit for the second one. So that's how I was able to get the second property relatively quick at 21. I ended up going and seeing my bank lady again.
The same one?
Same one. She was still there. She's like, he's back again. So yeah, we went back. She couldn't believe I saved up enough money for the second one. She was able to pull out equity for the first one. I believe I was only able to get 20 or 30K out of the first one to put towards the second. And we ended up getting a pre-approval for around 500K.
So how much deposit did you have in cash, and the equity was 20 grand?
Yeah, 20 to 30K. Deposit I had in cash, including the equity, would have been around a similar amount. I'd say a little bit more than the last one. It'd be like 65K, maybe 70K. So it's stretching pretty hard and buying a 500K property. My income did go up a little bit. I think got another big pay increase to, I think I was on $14 or $15 an hour now.
Massive. That's life-changing.
Crazy. So yeah, now I had my pre-approval all set, ready to go. I went out on the hunt again for properties. And this one was another property on the Goldie in the same suburb that I lived in. So same backyard. Went into this property knowing, because I grew up in the area, I knew this street was a very, very good area, very sought after. I went to the open home. I wasn't expecting at all to buy it. When I rocked up, there was 50 people there. Like, it was packed. You couldn't even walk through the property. And I was the youngest there by far. And I've just finished work. Again, I got the plumber's shirt on, covered in dirt, walking through the open home. No people looking at me like, why? Again, like, why is this kid here? What's he doing here? So I'm walking through the property, scoping it out. Everyone was trying to talk to the agent, and I ended up getting a couple minutes with him, just asking him a few questions and telling him this property needed a little bit of work. I was very keen on it. I was telling him like what I wanted to do to the property, what improvements I wanted to make to it. I was saying to him, yeah, man, I just live down the road. I love this area. I was very, very keen on it. I think that resonated with him a little bit. So anyway, I put my offer down on the property. I gave him my offer, walked out. I looked at a few other properties that day, so I didn't even expect to buy this property because of the amount of people.
Yeah, for sure.
So I basically forgot about the property and the offer that weekend, and it comes to early Monday morning, and I get this call on my phone, random number, and I pick it up, and it's the agent. He's like, "Hey man, just letting you know, you've got the property, your offer's accepted." I'm like, "Wait, what property? Which one?" And he tells me the street. I'm like, "You're kidding, really?"
Wow.
And he tells me over the phone, "Yeah, mate, we had 8 or 9 offers, and all of them were higher than your offer. But I told the sellers your story, how keen you were, you're a local, you wanted to improve the place, you wanted to give it a little bit of love."
Wow.
And he was telling me the sellers were this older couple, and they moved over to WA to just live out the rest of their days with family, basically. And the agent basically told me, yeah, the sellers said, just give it to the young guy that came in that loves the property. We trust him to do it up, and yeah, hopefully everything goes well for him.
There's something in that. Well, you must have been gobsmacked.
I couldn't believe it. It was unbelievable.
I always say this, like, stories sell. We could forget, like, that was their home of how many years?
I believe they bought it in 1960 or 1970, and they were the first ever owners, and I would have bought it in 2019. So they've been there a very long time. They would have been attached to it.
They would have been attached to it. So there's a bit of sentimental value, not just in the monetary sense. So with that type of customer, that type of seller, it does matter who has it. And in our days, sometimes if it's just pure maths, you just choose to whatever the best price is. So that's an interesting point.
It's very rare, because now I'm a buyer's agent and been involved in so many purchases. I think I've only seen that a handful of times, maybe 2 or 3 times. Like, that's very, very rare. And that happened to me on my second property. So yeah, unbelievable.
You've been kissed from the gods with that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So then what then? You got a lot of debt.
Yeah, I got a lot of debt, and it was time to renovate this one too, because we couldn't.
What needed work? What needed work with this one?
It definitely needed a paint. We're talking original bathrooms, original kitchen from back 1960, 1970. So you can imagine. Had the nice brown arches on all the door frames and window frames. Needed new window furnishings, new carpet. So cosmetic, nothing structural. So I stretched pretty hard to buy this property. I didn't think I was going to get it, to be honest. So now that I've had the offer accepted, my next thought is, all right, I got to figure out how we're going to renovate this thing. At the time, I was in the trade industry, construction plumber, so working on like residential builds. So
that's good.
I had a mate in every single trade, basically. Called in a lot of favors, weekenders, and the boys coming to help me on stuff like painting. Paid someone to do the carpets, little touch ups in the bathroom, in the kitchen. We put up all the window furnishings, tidied up the backyard. That went on for about a month, so we did all of that, and then we chucked a tenant in there. I only had $5,000 to reno that property with, by the way. I'm
hearing it, they go, oh, he's good. I'm just hearing so far. I'm glad you threw that in. It's like, oh, he's just a lucky guy, you know.
Yeah.
Just, $5,000, that doesn't get you very far.
Nah, being in the construction industry and working on these new builds, the builders, I was mates with the builders as well. And when these builds would be completed, there'd be leftover materials and be like, oh, give it to Jakey. He probably needs this for his house.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
That's so good. It's like working at KFC and getting the free buckets.
Yeah, mate, 100%. Exact same thing.
But this is in retail, you've said that would have been a lot. So retail, it just goes to show how important mates are.
Yeah, definitely. Relationships are everything, 100%.
That's awesome. So within a month, you did touch-ups, you got real close with your boys. You probably owe them a couple.
They bought houses later on, a few years later, and I had to rock up and get on the paintbrush.
Yeah, remember Jakey?
Yeah.
No, that's really cool. For anyone who's listening, that's 2 mortgages now on 1 income, neutrally geared.
Neutrally geared, yeah. So the second one was neutrally geared as well.
What was life like? Because could you afford to go out on a date? Could you afford to buy shoes? Like, what things pretty tight?
And things were very, very tight, to be honest.
Yeah, we forget this stuff, the
Yeah.
sacrifices. What was it like?
You know, when you're young and you go out, you're 18 to 21, and then you're kind of in that party sort of scene. You're going out,
Yeah.
clubbing, bars and stuff. Man, I couldn't afford a drink at a bar or a club.
Literally.
Very, very rare. No,
Yeah.
very rare for me buying a drink out. I'd buy like $7, $8 bottles of vodka before I go and have a few of them and not buy drinks out. This has reminded me of a really funny story. You probably won't believe it.
Yeah, let's just do it.
There was times as well where I'd go out as a young fella. I couldn't afford the cab home. I swear I would run home or I'd walk home on a night out. Like 5 to 6 kilometer walk, 7 kilometer walk home.
What time?
Very early in the morning. Very early in the morning.
Oh, mate.
So there was a lot of sacrifice going on there from a young age. Yeah.
You would have had to plan ahead. I was reading like some stat on the internet the other day that the average Australian has $3,000 to $4,000 credit card debt on average and stuff. So if you don't have it in the bank, then you're like, oh, well, I'll go for a good night out. I'll borrow from the bank or whatever.
Gives you that like false sense of security, I suppose. You just got that card there and you can just keep tapping it.
Yeah, tap-a-roo.
Yeah.
So you had mates who had cars probably and had better paying jobs at the time. And I assume all the stuff you would have been seeing people going, thinking that they're going ahead, right?
100%. Especially on the job sites. Like I'd be rocking up on the job sites. They got their nice $80,000 to $100,000 Hiluxes and pulling up in Ford Rangers. I'm in my little $500 Mazda Bravo, little ute, pulling up on the site. Like I was just so locked in on the property. I'm like, if I just stick to this, it'll pay off in the long term. That's when I started getting the long-term vision. From there, that is when I bought the property. The second property I bought for $515K, buying it at such a good price, doing the little cosmetic renovation on it. It was valued at $600K very shortly after, like 3 to 6 months later. Another little batch of equity in that one as well. And this is where I hit a massive roadblock that I was not expecting. I had the equity there in house 1 and house 2. I'm like, oh great, well I can just tap it and
go back to the bank lady.
Yeah, go back to my bank lady and tap the equity on these 2 and buy the third, like all these guys I'm hearing on the podcast that have squillions of properties.
Yeah.
So I went back to the bank and my bank lady, she's not there anymore. Like,
oh, she's gone.
Oh no, got someone new.
No.
And basically this new person tells me, we're never giving you a loan again, mate. You are fully capped out. I would have had $800,000 worth of debt, 21, 22 years old, still on my $15 or whatever it was at the time an hour.
He's probably thinking, we don't even know why we gave you this stuff.
How'd you get these, man? I was pretty down after that. I'm like, oh wow, well, what do I do from here? I'm stuck. I can't do anything. And it's funny because I think a lot of beginner investors as well in this day and age, they do exactly what I did. They just go to one bank, they get told no, or they get told no, this is the way to do it, and that's it. And they don't try anything else. But a lot of people don't realize, and this is what we'll go into, there's 80 plus different lenders in Australia and each one of them has a different policy. If you had a good investment savvy mortgage broker and they're working hard for you, trying to get you a loan, like they'll get you financed some way.
Yep.
100%. And if you're just using a bank lender, they will only look at their policy and what they have and they won't tell you anything else. So from a young age being told, no, you're probably going to have to sell one of these properties if we're going to loan to you again. You're going to have a huge income increase. That kind of stopped me for a bit.
I think there's a good lesson in that. Don't let one person or one bank determine your future or put into you the fear that you're done. Because pretty much that's what you say. You're absolutely right. Banks are biased toward their own products. It's almost like you go to a clothing store and they only sell their one brand. So you go to the bank and they're like, you know what? In order to get our product, you probably have to sell your property, which you've like worked your ass off for, blah, blah, blah. If you listen to that, if that's the only voice in your head, you're fucked. Like pretty much. Like you're basically really like fearful. You're like, oh, this is one and done. Two and done.
When I was 21 years old, the only person I spoke to regarding finance was one bank, one person, and they told me I was done. And I thought I was done. I didn't know what else I was capable of.
They told you to sell your property.
They told me to sell my property, and I've literally just bought it. And so I'm thinking, I'm hearing these podcasts I'm listening to. This bloke's got 10 properties. This guy's got 20. How am I how am I on 2 properties and they're not going to lend to me anymore? How is that possible? I was stuck for honestly probably 6 months to 12 months. I was like a bit down, like, well, I'm stuck. I don't know what else to do. I didn't know that there were another 80 lenders out there that had different policies. And if you had an investment savvy mortgage broker, well, most likely they would be able to get you financed somewhere else if they really, really pushed for you.
Yeah.
that's when I really knuckled down, to be honest, on the education part after like 6 to 12 months. And I found out, okay, if I'm going to want to keep growing this thing, I'm going to have to do something differently here, 100%. So I figured out pretty quick by listening to a lot more podcasts that I made real good money on the first two, but the purchase prices at like buying a property at 400 and 500K, back then that was a lot of money in markets. I realized I had to drop the purchase price on the properties. I still make the same dollar figure I was making on those higher purchase price ones on the first two that I bought. So that was one thing I learned. The second thing I learned was I need a mortgage broker ASAP. So I went out and found a mortgage broker.
Swap a banker for a broker.
Swap a banker for a broker, 100%. If I could go back in time and start again, I'd just start with a mortgage broker. Find an investment savvy mortgage broker who has runs on the board, who's built a portfolio themselves. Use them, learn off them, and structure it properly from day one.
Because they're never going to say what the bank says, like, oh, you're one and done or you're two and done. Oh, well, we'll find someone. There's always that attitude switch,
100%.
right?
That's probably the biggest red flag. We can't do anything more for you. This is it. We might have to sell one if you want to keep moving forward or something like that. If they put a roadblock up in front of you, I'd say that's a pretty big red flag, to be honest. This is what I've learned over the years, being through heaps of transactions, buying all these properties myself. There's always a way. Like you can always find a way. Whether it be like the type of property you buy. Maybe buying a property that has a higher yield, building a granny flat on the back of the property if you need some cash flow, unit blocks, third tier lenders, second tier lenders, mortgage. But there's always a way if you look hard enough.
What did you find that you needed to do to get your third property? So what was the actual problem? It wasn't that the bank didn't want to touch you. Why did they want to touch you? What did you need to change?
My borrowing capacity with that bank, it was capped out because my income wasn't enough to service any more debt. That's when I realized I needed to drop the purchase price, buy cheaper properties from here on out, but still make the same dollar figure I was making on the first two purchases. I also went out and found a broker that dealt with second tier and third tier lenders and dealt with multiple lenders across the lending space that could give me like multiple options and opinions. And then I realized as well, thirdly, this next property that I bought, it had to have a high yield. It had to actually be paying me money. It had to be cash flowing to help me keep moving forward. A lot of people were building granny flats at the time. It was a big craze back then. And I decided I'd pull the trigger on a granny flat. I worked the numbers out. I worked out if I had bought the property that I was looking at the time and put a granny flat on the back, it would cash flow around 10 to 15K a year. Put that in my back pocket year on year. And I was still on a low income at the time. So that was a lot of money back then to be making. And it would help me continue moving forward because it's increased my income.
So you're saying you bought a granny flat for one of the two properties?
Going into the third property, I bought this one with the intention of building the granny flat on the back separately. So two dwellings on this one property. So the third property I bought it was in Logan. Logan. If you're growing up on the Gold Coast, back then, Logan was stay the hell away from Logan. Don't buy there. This third property in Logan, I showed it to my plumbing boss at the time. Yeah. Showed it to a few of the boys at work. Yeah. I showed it to my family. And they're like, oh, Jake, what are you doing? Like, this is the downfall here. Like, you've done well on your first two. I do not know about buying this third one. And it was kind of out because my first two were on the Gold Coast, and back then everyone likes buying close to where you live. It's scary to buy
outside of your hometown,
outside of your little bubble. Yeah. And so this was my first time moving out of the bubble, and everyone that was around me were going, "Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it."
Oh wow.
Didn't listen to them. Pulled the trigger on it. Yeah. Bought the property for 305K, like little cheapie. Ended up negotiating 5K off the building and pest. A few little things popped up. I was able to get 5K off cash. I took that 5K, called in the boys again, and we renovated the whole place for 5K.
It was this 5K reno job. Yeah. Reno rescues for 5,000.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, man. And like, you can do so much when you have mates in pretty much every sector of the trade industry, and yeah, you're getting materials off builders and stuff like that.
That's such a good. That's so nice. But like, I think we skipped a part. Like, how did you get your borrowing capacity up when they told you no? Like, it's the broker helped you find someone that used you as was, or
so the broker found a third tier lender who was willing to lend me money, but only a very small amount. That's why I had to buy a property that was only 300K.
Nice. So you worked with what you could get.
Yeah. So nice. He went through lots and lots of lenders, and he finally found someone that their policy suited my situation, and they were able to give me a pre-approval.
For those who don't know, at a high level, what's the first, second, third tier lender?
So your first tier lenders, your top 4 banks, that's your first tier, and you tend to cap out pretty quick with them. Their policies are pretty tight. You tend to use them for your first few purchases and then move on to when you cap out with those first tier lenders, you can then drop down to your second tier lenders, and then you got your third tier lenders. And basically the policies loosen up a little bit. Each tier you go down the run.
Yeah, and typically the lower you go down, the higher the interest rate is, right?
Yeah, 100%. So I was paying a little bit higher of an interest rate. If that allowed me to keep going and buying property and making those gains I was making on the first 2 properties, the growth I was getting out of these properties, it far outweighed the negative of having that little bit higher interest rate.
Of course, yeah. And that's the right attitude to have. And they would look at your already existing portfolio of 2 and be like, okay, there's some security there too.
100%.
Starting from third tier for your first one.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting point for people to hear, is that to try to bank for a broker, they get more options, but then they write 70% of all home loans are written by brokers in the country. There's so many of them. Basically, someone looked at you and said, Jake, I can give you 300-something thousand to borrow.
300,000 to borrow. Bought the property, 305K, got the 5K off, renovated the whole property. At the time, I found a builder to build the granny flat on the back. Now I needed to get a deposit. Like I needed to put a deposit down for the build on the granny flat.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was a bit skim again on money. Like I
What'd
was
you
stretched
have in your
myself
account,
again.
Jakey? What'd you have?
Oh, man, I can't remember exactly. It was low. It would have been 10, 15, maybe 20K or something like that.
Yeah.
I think I needed a 30 or 40K deposit to put down on the granny flat. So I was short. I took out a personal loan. I took out a personal loan as a deposit to put down on the granny flat as well as the savings I had. And yeah,
How'd you get another loan when you...
mate, I had a good broker. That's what I mean. You need a good broker, an investment savvy mortgage broker.
We can only lend you 300,000, and then it's like you go in for another one.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a pretty big deposit for a granny flat, and in context to the deposits you've put down on your houses back then.
They didn't want to lend me the money for the granny flat, obviously, because I was already pretty capped. So they're like, all right, we're going to need a big deposit from you if we're going to lend you this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Needed a little bit bigger deposit on it. Ended up going ahead with the granny flat build. We ended up getting that all sorted, all approved. Got the granny flat built. 160K all up for the granny flat. 2 bedder, 1 bath granny flat on the back. So I was all in on the property for roughly 460, including the granny flat. It took about 7-8 months for the granny flat to be built. Got a valuation roughly a year later on the property as a whole, and it came back around 600K. So it was worth it building the granny flat. I got the equity uplift, 140, and I got that cash flow coming in month on month, about 10 to 15K positive a year. Which, so on the third property, I still made the same gains I was sort of making on the first 2, but I got the cash flow component as well. And now this has kind of set me up to keep moving forward. My borrowing capacity has increased.
No, there's some really good lessons here to pause on. Because of podcasts and education, hearing other people buying tens and squillions of properties, you're looking outside of the bubble. And I think that's a really big thing a lot of people struggle with today, because you know what you know the suburbs of your area, you know what's desirable or not. I grew up in Newcastle. So for me, Merriweather and in the city and all that, they were desirable areas, they're very expensive areas. If you bought in Windale, but that's like Logan, there's Bogan, like Windale was an area which if you think about the government putting all the housing commission people in one area, that's Windale.
Yeah.
You see the guys go down, as soon as they get their paycheck, they go to the local tavern and just blow it all, right? And more Foxtel installations than I've ever seen in the world when they can't afford it. What would you say to that? Like with that instinct of, I'm going to look outside my bubble and put another dwelling on there, that does take education to think that, because if you don't know any better, you just think, I'm just going to buy something that hopefully works. Like, how often do you see that attitude with people that you're working with at the moment?
First time investors, they have a little bit of fear of buying outside of their bubble, trying something different. And I think the more educated you are on buying interstate and like building dwellings and stuff like that, decreases that fear a bit, especially if you have someone kind of hold your hand throughout the process, or someone who's done it and can explain to you exactly how it's done, what they went through. Because when I was listening to podcasts, like you said at the beginning, everyone talks about how many properties they have and this and that, but they never really explained exactly how they got to that point. So that's why I kind of got stuck at that second, third property, because I didn't know, they didn't explain how you kept going after that.
Okay, so from face value, do me a profile.
So I was 23, 3 properties on an income around 50K to 60K a year at that point.
How is that possible?
It's unbelievable, to be honest. It's buying the right properties, getting yourself a little discount on the way in, making sure they're in high growth markets. The property's got to be performing for you. 100, like when you're on that sort of income, it's very, very important to make sure you're buying the right properties and they're performing for you. Because if your first one's a dud and you're on that income and it's not growing, maybe it's negatively geared, it could set you back years, to be honest. 100%. It would set you back years.
People really need to hear that stuff because everyone just focuses on how much money I'm on and they go for the most they can get in an area they want to live in or something.
Going back to being scared to buy interstate, a lot of people think that Australia, the property market as a whole, it all goes up and down together. Markets all around Australia, each regional town, each capital city, each metro location, they're all micro markets. They're all in different cycles. So you might have areas that have had a significant amount of growth and they're about to peak out and then stagnate for a long period of time. Then you have other areas in other parts of Australia, interstate, out of your bubble, away from where you live, and they're just starting to heat up and you can catch that next wave of growth. So I think once people learn that, I think it's a lot easier to get your head around buying interstate and outside of your bubble.
So like with the third property, the granny flat that took 8 months to build, at this point, are you really scraping this point or what?
Yeah, the third one I was scraping. I'm still scraping. So after the third one, the granny flat was built. I eventually ended up getting a good pay rise this time. So I ended up getting on a good wicket finally. All the hard work started to pay off. I was still an apprentice at the time, 3rd or 4th year apprentice, and I was working so hard in my job as a plumber. I was always on site by myself, doing everything myself. No tradesman would ever be with me. There was a tradesman working in the company I was working for, and I was doing exactly what they were doing, and they were on a much higher income than me.
Right.
So I had to get the confidence up to ask the boss, look, doing the same work as these tradies, like, is there any chance to put me on the same wicket as them as an apprentice?
Good man. Good man.
And it took me months, man. Like I was scared to ask for that pay rise. And eventually I had a real bad day on site one day and I'm like, you know what, stuff it. I'm just going to ring him and ask him. asked him for the pay rise, and he paused when I asked him and replied, I've been waiting for this. Thought you were going to ask months ago. No worries, all good. And put me up to the tradesman wage, and I was on, I think, like a base 70K salary plus overtime and stuff like that. So that's when the income, back then that was pretty good income, and that's when I could start to fly now. So I had my income at a good sort of level, had the granny flat pumping on the cash flow side of things, had equity in all the properties, and they were all growing consistently. And yeah, that's what really set me up on the trajectory to where I've gotten to today.
So we're going from 0 properties to your first one, second one, and third one. And you can clearly see how important each property is for growth. Because even the second one, if you bought somewhere that wasn't going to grow, every single property matters.
100%. Every single property, when you're looking to build a property portfolio, every property you buy has to have its purpose in the portfolio. I'm always thinking, how is this property I'm buying now going to help me get to the next one? So every single property has a purpose. The first 2 were high growth areas, renovated them. I didn't have much capital at the time because I was in such a low income. It took me years and years and years to save up deposits. So I needed to build up equity as quick as I possibly could. And that was through sweat equity, doing what I could with what I had, with the relationships I had at work, my skills at the time, renovating the properties up myself real cheap. And then the third one, I was stuck, so I needed cash flow. So I built the granny flat. Got the cash flow property, dropped the purchase price down, found the broker, went with the 3rd tier lenders. After that, got the pay increase. On all fronts, I got the equity pumping, got the cash flow coming in, and it's all looking good now to continue growing out the portfolio.
Yeah, all at the ripe age of
23. So
23.
First one was 19, second 21, third 23. So about 4-year period.
On an income of 60 grand, 50, 60 grand at the start, and bumped up to a pay rise of 70.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's really inspiring because a lot of people would think I can't even get into one when they've actually in a better position than you were in terms of an income.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that because a lot of clients call me up these days and I'm like, okay, what's your income? How much savings do you have to put into a property? Everyone's on that 70 to 100 to 150K income, single, no dependents or anything like that. What we could do for you is crazy compared like, because I think back to what I did on that such a low income, and they don't know what they're capable of at all. They have a random number of properties they want over a random time period they want to buy them at. I ask them, like, why do you want that many properties? Why do you want to buy them over that time frame? They don't have an answer for it. Like, I think maybe it's pressure, hearing what other people have done, and it sounds good and they need to do the same, but they don't really know why they're doing it. They don't know what they're doing it for.
You hear this every day.
Every day.
Are people decent savers in your view?
I think they are, yeah. The people that talk to me, I think they're decent savers. Most of them, yeah.
They don't know what they're capable of, right? So, Jake, you're the bank lady now.
I'm the bank lady.
It's almost like you're the bank lady,
Yeah.
but in the sense of not giving money. It's like using, here's what I got, Jakey.
Yeah.
I earn this. I've got this. I think I need 5
Yeah.
properties. That's my goal. And then you're like the bank lady, but to them saying,
It's so interesting because I was never told what I was capable of from the start. I just had to figure it all out myself. And imagine if I was told what I was capable of back then, I could potentially be further along over a quicker sort of time frame, because that was 3 properties over 4 years, and clients are buying a lot more properties than that in 4 years.
yeah,
now.
tell me, some of your clients are buying multiple a year, right?
Yeah, 100%. So I had a client recently. He was on a 150K rough sort of income. He already had a property, so he had a little bit of equity built up, had some savings built up. We were able to pull the equity out on the first property that he had, and then use that to go into buying the second, the third, and the fourth over a 4 to 5 month period sort of time frame. And he's absolutely blown away. Like, cannot believe it.
Only $150,000
Yeah, 150K.
to get 4 properties in 5 months.
Yeah.
And it took you 4 years.
Yeah, it took me 4 years. I'm like, man, what am I doing? Like, yeah, it's interesting how powerful it is, just using someone that's been through the hard yards, done it, walked the walk, and it can guide you through the process.
We all have a fear of wasted potential. I think we all have a fear that we've all had a friend that was a talent mother trucker, right? And it's like, you need to do something with that talent. And they're like, oh, I don't see it. Oh, I can't be bothered. And you're like, that's a waste. Like, the world needs to hear that. That's the same for people with what they are working with right now. They come to guys like you and I've got this income, got a bit of savings, got 1 property, and they can waste that.
Yeah.
They can just sit there and miss out on, they buy in the wrong spot and they're done. Or they listen to the wrong advice and they're done. And
Yeah.
it's a lot of risk.
You don't know what you don't know. Like, knowledge is like the most important thing. And if you can fast track your goals by just going to someone who's literally already achieved the goal that you're trying to achieve, they can just give you the framework instantly, give you the strategy, can give you all the tips. They can tell you all the mistakes that they made so you don't have to make them. And that's probably the most powerful thing. You save so much time, years and years of just trying to figure it out yourself in the dark.
And it's worth its weight in gold talking to a person like you who has gone from literally scrapping it together as an apprentice to getting, that's impressive, man. A teenager getting his first property to getting 3 properties over 3 years on a very little income. Like, that seems incredible. And we're not even talking about, and we'll do this in a later episode, on like having to learn new structures and financial structures, because it gets all like, oh, it sounds like my brain's going to explode.
Yeah, 100%.
And you're a tradie, so like you're not like saying, oh, you're a professor or anything like that, right?
No, if I can do it, I'm telling you now, anybody can do it 100%. I was nothing special back in the day, plumbing apprentice, low income, just had a big work ethic and really just, I really wanted to get out of the trade and, be able to have that freedom to step away one day if I wanted. I didn't want to be on the shovel for 60 years.
So just to wrap up the logistics of having 3 properties at 22, I'm interested because no one tells anyone this type of like lifestyle, what it felt like. So like you're like you just got your pay rise from your boss. You got 3 properties. You got massive debt, right? So how were you living, and what was it like to be managing those loans and things like, how was it working for you in terms of like bills every month and things like that? Were you like, the mortgage repayments were manageable to my income, or were you eating meat orang? What was going on?
I was still living well below my means 100%. The first 2 properties, they were the hardest by far. I was really scraping for those 2. But once I started fixing them up myself, renovating them, they were in better condition now. The maintenance wasn't as bad. I just had a real bad maintenance run at the start of each one, but after I fixed them up, they were pretty good. I wasn't getting much maintenance bills from them.
How much maintenance bills would you say on average people get, or for your experience?
From my experience, I've always had a 5 to 6K maintenance buffer on each property, and it's always kept me safe across all properties. So like when you have multiple properties, it's very unlikely for everything on every property to go wrong at once, you know? So if you have 3 properties and you got 5 to 6K as a buffer over the 3, so you got 15 grand, you're pretty safe, to be honest. Like that's a couple hot water systems a year, maybe an aircon across all the properties. But yeah, that's what's kept me out of trouble. Whatever helps you sleep at night is my biggest advice. If you want a little bit more, that will make you feel comfortable. Well, yeah, it's person to person, but through my experience, 5 to 6K has been what's worked for me.
So when you were like working your wage, were you trying to save not just for a deposit, but also putting a little bit aside for the 2 or the 3?
Not at the start, not on the first 2.
Yeah, you probably didn't
I didn't have that luxury.
That's right, because you just go there yourself and fix it,
Yeah,
right?
I went there myself because I was a plumber. A lot of the maintenance issues were plumbing issues. So I was kind of lucky in that aspect. I could just go and put a few new tap washers in, fix the leaks, and yeah, that was lucky, I suppose, looking back.
In the next step, what would be the journey for? We talked about 0 to 3. Now we're talking from 4 onwards. What are people in for as a preview?
So the next one, it's a bit of a hairy story. I'm doing well on the first 3. I've made a good amount of money. I got a little bit distracted here now, so I'm chasing the shiny objects. I'm seeing people do house flips, and I thought, oh, you know what? Well, I've done well on my first 3. Let's try out. Let's change strategy completely, and let's do a renovate and flip. And I'll tell you how that went, but it didn't go according to plan, that's for sure.
You lost thousands.
Lost a lot of money.
Oh, no. Awesome. Well, if people are out there and they're looking to invest, especially for people who are first investors or they're in one already, this would definitely inspire them. And you're not one and done or 2 and done, are they?
100%.
What people want to find are those hot deals that are cheap enough to get in. They're going to give them a good runway, good equity. How easy are they to find?
Mate, they're not easy to find. They're very rare, to be honest. We're finding around 10 a month at the moment.
The minimum.
We're on the calls every single day, looking for the best deals possible, like I did when I first started. I wouldn't buy anything for anyone else if I wouldn't buy it myself. We're always on the hunt for the next market, up and coming market around Australia as well for our clients.
What people need to know is that the deals that you find, they're not on Domain and they're not on realestate.com.
100% of deals, every single one of them, they're off market through our agent relationships, agent networks. We get access to deals and get sent deals from agents before anybody else. We get first pick on them. We go through the deals and we get to pick and choose what we like, negotiate on the ones that we know that the seller is in a little bit of a hairy situation. Maybe they want to sell quick. Price isn't their main concern, main reason for selling. They're not too concerned on the price they get, but maybe they want some quick terms and we can provide them that in return for the price that we want for the property. So,
dude, I want in. You know, everyone wants in. So they should go and apply and join your list, because when these deals come up and they come across your desk a lot,
got to be quick.
You gotta be
100%.
quick.
They do not last long.
How long do they last sometimes? Like,
Man, when we get one, like we got to be signing that contract within 2 to 4 hours, I'd say, because if the agent or the seller gets wind on, this guy's getting a pretty good deal here, that sometimes you can lose them pretty quick. So they're rare to find, and when you get them, they don't last long.
Yeah, so it's good if you're like ready to invest. What does it mean to be ready to invest for like this type of thing?
Cash ready, pre-approval in hand, you're ready to go, basically.
These are things you're not going to find anywhere else, and they've served you well. I mean, you just buy the whole lot if you could.
Oh, I wish.
Yeah,
Not anymore. I've got enough now. It's all about the clients, mate.
Yeah, so I mean, you're in a position of abundance, and that's a beautiful place to be in. And you're just giving back. It's like, man, I'll take this. I'll take this if I could. If I don't need it anymore, but like, God, I would definitely say that. That's what.
Yeah, it's all for the love of it now. To be honest, I love the hunt of the properties. I love negotiating on them. I love the feeling I get when I give a deal to a client and it amazes them, excites them. I love when they're so surprised. I can't believe the discount on it or the growth they've had over such a short amount of time, and how they light up when I tell them what they're capable of. I love that feeling.
You've had so many people they just get instant equity, right?
Yeah.
from the deals you get. You get pretty good instant equity, like if you can find the good deals, right?
We aim for 15, 20K discount on each deal minimum. If you couple that with buying in the right area at the right time, maybe the market's going through a little mini price jump and you've got in there at the right time, that's when you can make real big instant equity gains.
Yeah, I mean, how much are we talking here for some people you've seen?
We've just had one recently. He bought November last year.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of a unicorn deal. We got a 25K discount on the way in. The market was in a mini price jump at the time. The agent didn't even really realize that what the market was doing and the price jump it was having. And we paid 400K for it, 20 to 25K discount. On settlement, there was multiple sales popping up on realestate.com. I'm telling you, the exact replica of the property we just bought for like 470 to 480. We paid 400 for this one. And this client of mine, mind absolutely blown, like over the moon.
It just made $80,000.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. That's what I mean. When you can get your little discount on the way in, and you get into the market at the right time, and it's doing that little mini price jump. That's when you can see some really big gains.
Yeah, but it's one thing to know that can happen. Like people who listen to podcasts, they typically go, "Oh yeah, thanks for the information, Jake," and all these guys, and they think they've done it. Just because you know how to do it doesn't mean you're doing it.
Yeah.
So what are you doing about it? Like you got to call somebody. You got to freaking get your hat in the ring rather than thinking you're in the ring.
100%. Yeah.
I think there's a big problem in Australia at the moment is that some people want to look rich but they're not rich, and some people know how to do property but they don't have any, and they know what to do. They know what to do to get fit but they're not. It's like, well, let's just see how obedient you are to the knowledge you have. Exercise that thing, mate.
Discipline's so important, especially when you're growing out that portfolio. The equity starts to come in. Like this client of mine who's just done that 80K, you can pull that out and go buy a car or something like that, or you can pull that out and we can keep building this thing out and we can keep growing it. So I think if you can stay disciplined along the journey, keep reinvesting that money back in, that's when it really grows for you, and that's when you see some of the craziest results.
I've heard some pretty bad stories, funny stories on misuse of equity.
Yeah.
Like for the car thing. I remember like a mate of mine, he was saying to me that his mate in Liverpool, he's like seeing him drive around in a Lambo. Yep. And he's like, man, she must be doing well. You got a Lambo. He's like, oh, nah, my mum, I inherited my mum's place and just took the equity out and withdrew and just bought a Lambo with it.
Yeah.
He's like, what?
Living his life.
Like you could have done so many more things with that equity, but you got a Lambo. It's just depreciating.
Yeah, wow.
It's not ready yet. You're not ready for that.
So yeah, imagine pulling out 500, 600K for a Lambo. 500, 600K, man, you buy 5 or 6 properties instantly with that. And then imagine, let's say you do 80K on 5, 6 of those each. You made a lot of money versus buying the Lambo and turning a few heads.
Yeah, that's what you're paying for, the head turns.
Yeah, literally.
And a few car scrapes. I mean, you're going to get keyed and all that.
Yeah, don't scrape a wheel on one of those things either.
Well, excited here for the next episode. So anyone out there who's looking to get into property and stuff, they need to come and apply. And it's best if you're just as prepared as you can, because there's hot deals that are ready to go. And if you're ready, you're getting faster to your retirement. You're getting faster to your wealth, right?
100%. Every month we have multiple deals for clients off market. If you're pre-approved and ready to go, you need to be booking in a call because they're not lasting long. If you're not pre-approved, we have a panel of brokers who are experts in investment property lending. Typically, depending on your situation, we'll be able to get you a pre-approval pretty quick. So all you got to do is go and apply to us and we'll be in touch with you soon.